Abstract Transmissions.
And hello, thank you for listening to Abstract Transmissions. Today we have Joseph Ansley from Index Case. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Pumped
No
to have
problem,
you.
man.
Yeah. What a fucking day, huh?
What a day.
What a day. So I'm assuming I'm going to get this up tonight, very as soon as we're done with the dialogue here. But
Sure.
I, for the folks out there listening, if you guys hear it probably first thing in the morning, we're recording this pretty late on the 6th, and shit is just bananas in the streets of DC right now. So I actually been not watching it for the last, I don't know, 45 hour or whatever it was, trying to get the kid to bed and stuff. What's going on?
It's to the point now where like Romney came up and just kind of laid into Trump, and it's getting pretty ridiculous, man.
Well, it was bizarre because I saw some of those other senators that were like all gung ho to, objecting the vote, and then they're like, their tail tucked quick. I mean, with good reason. Thank fucking God. We don't need them to be fucking tough guys. We need them to be, to do their goddamn job. Not fucking be incendiary and fucking cause us.
I don't know what to think about it, man. I seriously, dude, my whole life, I've always avoided politics. I grew up in the era, dude, where like if somebody asked you what your political party was, you were like, none of your business. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
or
you just didn't tell people.
Have one,
You didn't tell people who you voted for. You didn't. It was like your own little secret thing. I grew up in that era, so
for sure,
that's just how I am now. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what you believe in. If you're a good person, you're a good person. You're my friend. That's it.
Absolutely.
I don't like to get into it, and right now, like.
It's tough.
Right now, it's hard not to, man.
Right.
Like everybody just hates everybody so much.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Everybody hates everyone.
I think the internet has definitely obviously exacerbated that, like really awfully in a way that's just completely unacceptable. But the big thing is like, I was kind of the same way. I had never been political until this past year. I mean, I voted, libertarian and third party candidates for as long as I can remember, but I've always kind of leaned left in a lot of aspects, and I have politically like primaried for Democrats plenty of times, but I've never general election voted for a Democrat until this election, and then I was kind of torn down the middle between the two libertarians, and so down ticketed libertarians in my area, and then did Biden, which was an odd thing to do. But
I'll tell you what's tough too, man. It's tough. What's tough is to not like start digging into like all these people's conspiracy theories, because like now you're reading conspiracy theories, and it's like, holy shit, like why does some of this make so much sense? Like,
yep, right. Well, there is some I say this all the time, obviously majority of it's bullshit. It's fucking lizard people bullshit, but then there's truth to every fiction. And I mean, as time goes on, we're starting to find more and more things I never thought I'd be accepting as a person, like the UFO thing. Not that I'm skeptical of alien life. I'm mathematically impossible that we wouldn't have some sort of alien life. Outside
there has to be something.
But whether they're visiting us or not was always been a thing for me that I'm like, until there's I'm a science guy. Like I really want, solid evidence. You can't always get that though. And some things are beyond that. I just didn't expect to be hearing the shit that we've been hearing lately about UFOs being accepted as just reality. We don't know what they are. And then all of that's just been bizarre because everybody's not even paying attention to it. They're all like focused on Trump. It's like, aliens, fuck aliens.
Yeah. Perfect time right now to introduce aliens, man. I mean, what else could go wrong? I mean,
fucking crazy.
Dude, the world would lose their goddamn minds if they came out with the alien proof. People want to know what to do, man.
I think that was the argument that they've been making for a long time. But I think that a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of shady shit and they want to use it as information warfare. Like they're gonna release it, but they want to do it on their terms to give it an angle so they can use it to control something, which is fucked up because people are going to be like, oh, aliens, that's amazing. But what's the angle? And
right.
That's been the thing I've been saying a lot lately. I've kind of been repetitive about it, but like, what is their angle? You know, they're not going to just release information. Nobody does.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of hitting it for the listeners out there. I'm kind of hitting a dead horse because I've said this a lot to a lot of guests, but it jars me a lot because everybody's just kind of like asleep at the wheel, and it's either, you know, the orange man bad thing, or which I understand, because fuck Trump. He's, in my opinion, he's absolutely, and it's proof now. I mean, look, they're at the point where they're talking about removing him. President Pence is considering it. Like he's separated from Trump, and Trump is hidden away somewhere. They've, you know, shut off all his social media accounts. Like, it is a trash fire way to end it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Was the cat's trying to dig in through my door.
Good, man.
Yeah, I just it's shocking to me that it took to this point for everybody to be like, whoa. Like, it took for them to shoot somebody inside the fucking Capitol building for them to be like, okay,
right,
now it's time to put on the brakes.
Yeah. Now's a good time to not be affiliated with this guy, and let's just get him out of here.
Wow,
he's bad for business right now.
Yeah, big time. I mean, the stock market's going to be a motherfucker tomorrow, I bet, because
there's like I have a lot of friends who are Trump supporters. Like, I live in Iowa, man. I mean,
yeah, I'm in New Hampshire, not far off.
And they're great. They're great people, and I don't care. I don't care what they believe in, and they don't act like they're. I mean, they're civil. I mean, they act like me with me. You know what I mean? There's different types of. Trump supporters, and there's different types of Biden supporters, and
no, I agree. I mean, my late guitarist, in Arrest in Transit, he passed away, and he was a strong Trump supporter, and me and him would, you know, very spiritedly disagree, and you know, we'd fuck around with each other and give each other shit, but I always respected him and his perspective, because he respected mine. And although we don't agree at all, and I don't think that his perspectives were right, it doesn't mean that we have to be assholes to each other or fucking.
I tell people all the time,
you know, like, what the fuck?
Do you know how boring the world would be if everybody agreed on the same shit? Like, I mean, I like that you don't like the same stuff as me. I like that.
It gives it dynamic.
I mean, yes, man, it makes you an individual. Like, I like that. I don't care. I don't care that you like something that I don't like. I don't. Are you a cool person? Then cool. Then you're cool with me.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, that's part of living in like rural areas. Like, I'm in New Hampshire. We got the two areas where the primary states. So it's got that like swing demographic. Both of our states are very much kind of heavy focus on politically, but I think that drives people out of the political system. Like, I've always hated being political because there's so much shit every 4 years in my state.
Me too, man.
It's just bloated, and everybody's fucking driveway. yeah. And they only give a shit about you every 4 years, right? They show up every 4 years, and they're your best friends. Right. Everybody's friends, and they want to know about your life.
They're walking around Iowa and meeting farmers and walking their farmland with them, and every 4 years.
Every 4 years, like clockwork. Same thing here. They go out to the dairy farms in New Hampshire, because we got you guys with the caucusing, the first caucus, then we have the first primary, and it's like back to back. Fucking lots of condescending pandering going on in these two states for months, year.
We're big deals. We're big deals, though. We're big deals in that election.
Every 4 years.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, I'm kind of glad in a lot of ways now, mainly because I'm doing the podcast thing. It gives me the ability to, you know, try to get him onto the podcast and use that leverage being in New Hampshire. But like, why not let it fucking be self-serving? They don't give a shit about us. No offense to the politicians out there. I backed Yang because I think he genuinely does care. But I mean, look, he's not jumping for a Biden cabinet position. He's going to run for mayor to try to put that UBI thing in place. Like, he wants to see that thing come to fruition, and then just dump out of politics in general.
Right.
Which I think would be good. I think that could solve a lot of problems for people, especially in the pandemic right now. But yeah, I mean, damned politics, man. Fuck this shit. It's bananas. Like the Banana Republic, they said earlier. They were talking about fucking coups and shit. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. This is getting kind of close. Just Orange Republic instead.
Yeah.
Fuck. But I'm really shocked to see. This was kind of a plot twist, in my opinion. The thing there with Mike Pence, talking about, they all kind of shifted like today, and it was way too late. Obviously, I mean, look what happened. Somebody's fucking dead now.
Right. Yeah.
Like, fuck. And it was somebody that was with the Trump supporter, and like, people are going to joke around with the play stupid games, win stupid prizes thing, and it's not inaccurate. I mean, Darwin takes us based on what we fucking do. We jump in front of a train, you might get hit by that train.
Right.
It's still fucked up that it got to that point, and all of that incendiary rhetoric is what did it. Those lawmakers and Trump, they got fucking blood on their hands for that shit.
Right.
And it's scary because I put fault on both sides in a lot of ways, because it's taken to 2020 for both the Democrats and the Republicans get there on fucking, to act like they give a shit. And do they really? Like, it's like, that's the thing. Am I ever really going to believe either one of them gives a fuck? No. But
yeah,
there are some advantages, like at least in Maine, next state over, fucking they got ranked choice voting put in place. And the Democrats did that, third party didn't do that. Republicans didn't do that. The Democrats did that. I'll give that to them. And now that's making it easier for, realistic third party candidates to make their way in Maine. So I think that there are some benefits to what the Democrats are trying to do. I just think they're way too late to the game with it.
Right. Yeah.
And they went about the wrong way, yelling at everybody and canceling everybody and all that shit it's not working out for anybody.
No, it's silly, man.
Ideals down.
We look pretty silly right now.
Yeah, to the entire world, we look pretty ridiculous. Pretty silly. We have for the last 4 years, though, in a lot of ways. I mean, they've been looking at us for like, what is going on? Just because it's been so erratic and crazy. But I mean, I guess I'm kind of ranting. It's kind of every 4 years as it is, right?
Yeah.
We flip-flop
so often. Anyone's talking about. It's all anyone's talking about right now.
Well, fuck that shit. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about
other stuff.
Let's talk about meteorites. Fucking seriously, they spend all that money in defense spending, but not nearly that kind of money into looking up at the skies, defense from like objects that could like wipe us out.
Right. Correct. Yeah. We got Space Force though, man.
Yeah, well, hey, I wasn't against that. I'm not gonna lie. I really not a big fan. I'm not a Trump supporter in any way. I really don't like the guy. I really loved Space Force. The minute they said that, I'm like,
dude, I was in Florida last week, and some kid on the beach was flying a Space Force flag like real high, and I was like, that's pretty sick, dude. Like,
that is pretty cool.
That's pretty sick.
I mean, they do kind of have the what's it called? It's almost like this Star Trek logo, which is kind of ironic.
It's a cool flag, dude. It's a dope little flag, man. It was, yeah.
It made me see. I saw a Star Trek flag, and I'm just like, the nerd in me is like, fuck yeah.
Right. Sweet.
Let me. I'm gonna turn down my my gain here a little bit. I think I'm coming through on your thing there. Let me know if you can still hear me.
I
still
can hear you.
Clear? Cool. Mm-hmm. That's not.
I'm trying to think of a club that we played at in New Hampshire. Was it the Bomb Shelter?
Bomb Shelter in Manchester. Yeah.
That's New Hampshire.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Manchester, New Hampshire. And it's funny because I didn't get to go to that show, and I heard about you from a friend of mine that went to that. I used to go there all the time for bands.
Right.
And he's like, you got to check this band out. And this was years after you guys played there. So he was the co-host of this show, but right now he's kind of taking a hiatus because he's dealing with some personal stuff and family stuff. So, but he's also a big Index Case fan. So cool. I found you guys through them and through him, and I've been hooked ever since. Glass all the way up to your most recent it's an EP, right?
Yeah, Ocean.
Yeah. Man, that Audacity, I think, is the song, right? And that song
the Audacity
is awesome. I really love that song. And
so Ocean. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I dig into music in a certain way. Like when I listen to an album, I just listen from beginning to end. I have to hear the whole thing and then just kind of get the whole experience, you know?
Right.
And in that, I mean, obviously it was just kind of a couple of songs together, but I really, really like it a lot. So yeah.
So what Ocean was is a lot of the songs on Ocean were written when we did our self-titled album in 2005, I think, with Elektra Records. Really? And a lot of those songs were demos, and we tried to put them on other albums, but they just didn't fit the album. And so we had these 4 songs just sitting around, and we were like, let's just record them, put them on an EP. And they were all written with random times throughout the last 15 years. But for some reason on that EP, they just fit well together. It was almost like they were meant to be on that EP together.
That's funny how that works. That's awesome, because they really do really go well together. And just the quality, the sound quality too. This sounds really, really, really amazing. Did you guys record that yourself, or did you guys go
we did it in Des Moines? A guy named Griffin Landa records us. He's the bass player for the Acacia Strain.
Oh, awesome! They're amazing band.
He lives in Des Moines. He's from Des Moines, so he's got his own studio down here.
That's really awesome.
We got a hold of him before we did that. We were like, we want you to do it. We want to keep it in Des Moines, and we want it to sound pretty raw, and he was perfect for it.
That's great.
So he did our Madonna cover song too that we dropped, our last drop, the Like a Prayer cover song. So it's nice because the studio is right around the corner and we can just go there, and he's dope and he knows what he's doing.
That's really great, being close by. And I mean, the big thing is being comfortable in the studio. I found is the huge thing. Well, as a vocalist,
huge.
For me, I'm not a fan of recording vocals in the studio, to be honest. I like playing live a lot more than, or if I could play just like practice and not have to have anything in my ears or over my ears, just monitors and record that way would be.
So you got vocalist syndrome, my man. And that's it's like hearing your voice on somebody's answering machine. You know what I mean? And you hate your own voice. I hate my own voice. And I have to like rely on the band members to go, no, your voice is perfect for this, blah, blah, blah. So you have to get rid of that anxiety. And
it's good to hear
it's
that
all about being comfortable. It's all about being comfortable.
That's true.
So I can't go into the studio. There's guys in the band that I don't want in the studio when I'm recording. Like I want to do my own thing. I don't want an audience, and I got to be comfortable with the guy recording me. I don't want to feel like he's judging me. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
Because I'm going to try new things. I want to be comfortable. I'm going to fuck up a lot. I'm going to sound stupid a lot. Yeah. I don't need somebody laughing. You know, I don't need my buddy in the other room laughing.
Right. Well, that's it. When you're in a band with the other guys, they always giving you shit and stuff as it is. So it's like you don't need that. Even if it's like just razzing you, it's like I need to be able to focus to make this come out good. Like, and as a vocalist, there's a lot of factors. Being comfortable, well hydrated, all kinds of.
You got to be comfortable enough. This is what I tell people. Anybody who asks me for advice or whatever. You can't go into a studio and try as hard as you can to hit the perfect note. Because when you do that, you're going to lose all the feeling and all the emotion behind it. You're going to sound programmed. Yep. You're going to sound like you're in a choir. You know what I mean? You're just properly hitting every note correctly. So you got to be comfortable with experimenting and hitting bad notes and fucking up. But maybe out of those bad notes, some really cool raw emotion comes out. Yes. And it sounds dope. And I'll tell you who's the king of that. The king of that is Chino from the Deftones.
Absolutely.
Chino is the king of being comfortable with who he is, because Chino does not always, even on album, hit the correct note.
Right.
But when you hear him, you believe him and you feel it. Like you feel it in here.
Well, I kind of feel like that's true with a lot of vocalists that are just true to themselves. Like for me, like now writing is so much different for me than when I wrote before I was in a band where I was just doing vocals. I was playing guitar before, and I'm playing guitar and singing now. But I'm not, like a super good guitarist. And it was kind of a security blanket for a little bit. Able to wear that, and I'm used to it. It's always there, and I have a mic stand. But when I put that down for a little bit, it kind of forced me to focus mainly on what I'm doing vocally, and it's kind of weird that you bring up Chino, because I think about a lot of other vocalists, and I think a lot of times I got better as a vocalist when I stopped giving a shit about anything other than just the music itself. And once that happened for me, I feel like I started to, I still feel uncomfortable when especially in the studio, because you hear yourself, like you're saying, the vocalist syndrome thing's the best analogy I've ever heard. Right. But somebody like Chino has such a wide vocal range, so many capabilities, and the band in general just does their thing. They've never put out a bad album. Like it's been consistent. It's them.
They're
but
in
it sounds pocket. Different. You know what I mean? It's always the Deftones, but they've done something new. They've reinvented themselves the 8th time.
Right.
I adore that about that band. I think that for me has always been a big influence. Actually, I would say Deftones are actually very, very strong.
They're the OGs, man. They're
really
OGs.
Great.
They're the reason I'm in a band, man. I remember hanging out in high school, and our original drummer Jordan was in my home ec class, and he was like, I listened to nothing but Wu-Tang Clan, man. Like it was Wu-Tang Clan or nothing for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I'm playing with this guitar player that went to Indianola High School. He graduated 2 years ago. He got a hold of me, and we've just been jamming. You should come check it out. And I went over to his basement, and they were just jamming. And he showed me Deftones Adrenaline. And I remember hearing Chino, and I was like, something like sparked in me, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, I can be a vocalist. Like I have something to say. And he taught me that I don't have to be an amazing vocalist. I can just be who I am.
Right.
And I don't have to just do one genre of music. I can like this other, and Deftones literally is the reason I started getting into metal music, rock music. I always was, but I never wanted to be involved in it. Until I heard Chino.
It's weird you saying that, because it's cool, because I feel a strong relation to that, because when I first started, I didn't start playing music until I was 18, I think. Never touched an instrument before, but I was huge Deftones fan. And it's kind of funny, because it was a big driver for why I wanted to be a vocalist. And I remember screaming into a microphone with this garbage PA I had, and I was awful at it. But we ended up covering 7 words really terribly. And I just remember, it's funny you brought that up, and I feel like that's something I can kind of relate to, just because they've been such a strong influence, I think, to a lot of people.
Right. And the beauty of Deftones too is, I don't know the Deftones, but I can tell you this: they don't care if anybody likes their music or not.
Right.
They're going to do what they want to do and what they're comfortable with. And we spent so many years making music to try to impress record labels and changing our sound so that we could be more radio friendly.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. And we toured and we got a record deal, but we felt like sellouts almost. And it wasn't a good feeling. We didn't feel like we were being us.
Right. You had to adapt.
And we just got to a point. We got to a point where we just all sat down with each other and we said, let's just make the music that we want to make. And if nobody likes it, who cares? If we like it, then that's ours. It's our trophy. You know what I mean? Like, it's for us.
Yeah. That's what it should be.
And we just got to that point. And ever since we got to that point, we get along like brothers. We write great music. We have nobody telling us what to do, or we're not trying to impress anybody.
It's really cool hearing you say all that. And I'm sure, obviously it's not live, but when Justin hears this, he's going to be laughing because we write very similarly in that aspect, that like it's very much about art and passion and just raw abstract, you know, throwing the pan at the wall kind of thing, and whatever sticks. At least it was for me, and I know Justin's a lot like that. He's kind of jumps around musically. He's got a wide range of musical influences. You guys are a big influence to him, actually, as a guitarist specifically.
Well, we have a wide range, man. If you sit all four of us in a room together and say bring your album collection, not one of us will have the same album. And it's our bass player is a saxophone major at Drake University, plays jazz band, you know what I mean? And it's just, you put all of us together and none of us listen to the same music, but when we get together, it's like it works. It's like magic. It's like there's something there.
That's awesome.
You shouldn't all like the same music is what I'm saying. You shouldn't. You want to combine everything that you guys have locked in your heads from growing up on and make something new.
The most successful projects that I've been in have been in bands with people where we're all completely different musically. Like sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What was I gonna say? Unrest in Transit, the band that Justin and I were in together, with Matt, our guitarist who passed away. That band was so different for me because I'd never done anything other than like alternative rock, like 4-chord writing stuff. And then I was in like a metal, like grindcore kind of metalcore thing that was different for me. And was kind of hard to adapt to initially. But what I liked about it was it's so different for kind of all of us, because we all listen to different stuff kind of the same way, and it really, we didn't go into it saying, you know, we're going to have a specific sound. Just kind of, we were in a, you know, a time crunch to make this band. Actually, it's a weird story and I won't go into it too much, but we were trying to fill a show and we put together a project in like a week or two, and we had like 3 original songs and we covered Bored by the Deftones, and it was an okay show. It wasn't a bad first show, but it wasn't great. It was only 4 songs. But after that,
I don't think anybody has a good first show, man. I don't think anybody has a good first show.
It's always a tough one, the first one.
You need a bad show. You need a bad first show to get you to the next level.
Yeah, for sure. It's never the same after, you know, as if you've had like 4 or 5 already. I agree. The first show never really runs smoothly. There's always something.
No.
Fucking somebody's pedals missing, an amp goes off, some shit.
Yeah. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it sucks. But I think the thing that I always kind of enjoyed about writing with people with different influences, or different, you know, genre walks of life, is that if you're going into it with just kind of no plan or whatever, it's going to make for a really weird, odd sound, or for me, very unique. And I'm very much into a lot of the abstract stuff. I listen to a lot of stuff like 90s Sonic Youth, but from that to Animals as Leaders to, you know, bands like all over the place, Sam Cooke, Kill Switch. It just varies, but I think what you said was right. I think the less people care about making it fit to something, or fitting into what somebody else thinks it should be, the better off it's going to be. Like Nirvana, for example. Whether you like or hate Nirvana, they were one of the hugest bands of all time, and they could give a fuck less what anybody thought about their music.
Didn't care.
And that, I think, kind of continuously made them more and more popular. They had that like punk rock attitude, but it was genuine because they genuinely didn't care about anything other than making music, and it was self-serving, which is how I feel every time I play music. I'm playing music for myself. It's like fucking a drug, you know what I mean? It's totally self-gratifying for me when I play music. And I do write kind of with the idea that, you know, somebody's going to hear it, but I write abstractly with that in mind. Like, I don't write literal lyrics because I feel like abstract lyrics leaves it more open for interpretation, and lets me off the hook grammatically. No, I'm just kidding. But
the right people will always hear it, man. The right people, whoever needs to hear it's going to hear it. We spent 3 years showcasing in the early 2000s to every record label on planet Earth. I was on the roof of Capitol Records with Perry Watts Russell, their head A&R. He's got his arm around me telling me that they really like us, but they want us to sound a little bit more like Linkin Park. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then you don't really like us. You know, you right. just want to make us what's hot right now. And
try to generate
that's
money.
what all these labels do. And we showcased for the several labels, the same labels multiple times. We were out in LA all the time, sleeping in a van, playing these shows. And we come back home and our manager got us a endorsement by Monster, not Monster, it was Mountain Dew's energy drink, Amp yep. energy drink, right when that first came out. And they did a commercial. And in that commercial, they used like 6 seconds of our song called Listen.
I know that song.
It was on their commercial, their minute-long commercial.
Really?
Well, a guy named Adrian, who works for No Name, which No Name managed Hatebreed. They were like the first ones that got in on Slipknot and took
yep.
them to Roadrunner. Well, they were with Elektra at the time. Well, this Adrian guy was driving in his car in LA, and the radio station there played that commercial. He got a hold of Amp, tried to figure out what 6 seconds of that one song he heard was. It was us. Got a hold of our management. A week later, we were back out in LA. We played at the Whiskey Go-Go, and later that night, we were in Elektra Records' office signing papers.
Wow.
So it's just, you couldn't have told me before it happened, but now that it happened, all I can say is, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, man. It's a game of luck. It's a game of who's listening.
Right.
If the right person's listening that loves you, they'll make it happen.
Yeah.
So we could have written 1 million songs for Capitol Records, and we probably wouldn't have done dick compared to what we did by chance being on this commercial that some guy heard. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I mean,
it's a weird industry, man.
It is. I hate the industry. There was a part of
the worst
my life where I was like, I wanted to, if I could just play music and make enough living doing that, then I'd be happy. Right. But then I thought about it. I'm like, I really just don't want that even to be the hook. I just want to be able to make music with no attachment to it. Because then if I attach music to it, money to it, and I'm going to rely on it, then I have to do that only for income. And what if I'm not great at it and people don't, you know what I mean? Like there's so many variables there. And obviously most of the musicians really making money out there, the guys writing cat food commercial jingles and like guys that are passionate about their projects and whatnot. I mean, it sticks out when somebody's passionate about their music and what they want to do. I think it's very apparent, but now there are no real record labels anymore. I mean, there are, but everything is so,
there's no need for
online. It's the internet has eliminated the need for them, just like it's going to eliminate the need for Comcast once there's all that free internet from SpaceX.
Right.
Like technology is going to eliminate certain things, and good, because fuck the music industry. You hear people like Billy Corgan and fucking Maynard talk about that shit, and I'm just like, yeah, fuck that. Why would I ever want that? That sounds like hell. You get to look like you're awesome and popular and everything, but you make no money. You owe money for like ever.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Unless you can snag a good endorsement or something, you're pretty much just working for the man. It's just a full-time job.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's sad, man.
That is, it's jarring to think that was kind of the thing for so long. I mean, now Billie Eilish and all these different new types of music, Post Malone, stuff like that, that's come out of kind of nowhere. It's not my music specifically, stuff that I listen to, but I know it's totally self-created, self-produced material that they were able to just get on the internet, and then they're generating that money themselves. Cut the middleman right out. Like
what
the fuck am I doing?
But right, but we didn't have that option, you know. Right. I mean, when we were first touring, I was calling home from a calling card on payphones. There wasn't Facebook, there wasn't SoundCloud, there wasn't anything.
Right. I know.
I mean, there was nothing. So we were handing out flyers at concerts, still pushing cassette tapes at one point, you know, out of the back of our trucks. Like that's how you got around.
I feel like that's us now, because we're like, we got CDs, you know, we're gonna give them CDs. People are like, what the hell is this? Like, right. I tried to adapt to like business cards, a little here, free music with a little card on it, but
most people don't even have a CD player anymore, man.
I know.
I don't even own a CD player. I'm not even gonna lie. I have no CD player.
I don't think I do too. PlayStation 4.
Right. Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, you hand somebody a CD nowadays, and they're like,
"What's this?
Like, where can I download this?"
Try to take a bite out of it.
You on Spotify?
What is this?
Right.
Yeah, I know.
It's changed, man.
I'm okay with we haven't produced this band I'm in now, Ambient Discord. We haven't produced we have an album worth of material. Everything's recorded, everything's layered, but we need to edit and master it, and we were going to do it ourselves. But right now we're at the point where we could just take this stuff and give it to somebody else, another set of ears to put it together for us. And I feel like that would be more conducive to us. But that's something where we're all going to discuss and work out.
Sometimes you've worked on something so long that you just need to hand it off.
That's exactly how I feel.
Or else you're just going to keep changing shit. You're going to get in your own head.
That's exactly right.
The best shit that you can do when I go in and record vocals. So I had this guy who used to do my vocals, and he would tell me, "Hey, run the song one time, warm up, then next time," he goes, "we'll start just doing verses, then choruses or whatever." So I'd run the whole song, and as soon as I was done, he'd be like, "Dude, that was great. I recorded that." And we would end up using 80% of that first take.
Mm-hmm.
And he always told me that he does that with singers, because he's like, once you start doing something once you hit that verse for your 20th time, it changes. Now you're bored with it. You're in your own head. You're trying to make it sound perfect. You're not being raw. It's always that first take. So sometimes the best way to write music is to just do that first take, everybody, and then just fucking hand it off.
Mm-hmm.
Just hand it off and let somebody doctor it up.
Hopefully I'll see if I can get the guys in the band to listen to this conversation.
It's tough though because it's your baby, you know what I mean?
It is.
It's your baby, so you want it to be perfect, but sometimes the most perfect shit you do is the first time you do it, when you don't think it's perfect. And then when somebody else can come in and doctor it up, then you listen back and you're like, okay, I get it now.
No, you're right. We've spent a good amount of time on it as it is already, and I mean the tracks are there, the layers are there. I mean, if everything, if somebody went through it and just did all the compressing and any of the waveform editing and any of the sculpting and all that, we'd be good. But there's so much of it to do, and like 7 to 9 songs of material. It's just, I know it's not going to get done in the amount of time that we should get it done. Which, I mean, as soon as this pandemic's over, it's going to be a good time to be in a band, because people are going to want to see live music. And man, I don't want to be coming up on that and not have that album finished, because it's going to be super important for us to be able to just put that out, and I'll be happy too, because I'm happy about the tracks I laid, mainly because it was just us recording it, the three of us in the band, and which was kind of that thing, in your head as much, but there are some things that, like, I wish it was just me in the room with the button. You know?
Right.
I think most vocalists feel that way.
Yeah. And we get to a point, if we start overworking a song, we'll get to a point where we'll listen to it and go, we'll have so many layers on it. We'll just look at each other and be like, how are we even going to play this live? Like, we overdid it. We got to just chop everything out of this and just go to the basics.
Absolutely. I agree. A lot of the stuff we do is super simple for that. Well, one, because I'm a very basic guitar writer. I'm not even really a guitarist. I use it as a tool so I can get the stuff in my head onto the musical page, I guess. But I'm really not that. I've been playing since I was like 18, but I haven't really improved past, Beatles guitar chords and stuff like that, like very basic stuff. But I as a writer, I also kind of keep like my guitar just distortion, very simple effect, and like the reverb or whatever, but I won't run like effects pedals and stuff because I'm not that good of a guitarist to do so. And like, I'm okay with that. And I know, you know, as bad as I am as a guitarist, it's good for what we're doing. And we have some really good hooks. And, you know, as much as I beat myself up as a vocalist, I know that some of our stuff's pretty catchy and decent. But it's tough being a vocalist because I have to force myself to do that, to pat myself on the back a little bit, because I'll just shit on myself.
I never do, man. Yeah, I'm always. I get done recording something. I'll be like, dude, I don't even want to hear it. Like,
I don't even want to hear
it. I did it, and I felt like it was good. I don't want to hear it. Just do your thing.
That's me. That's me all the time. And so I'll tell you, you can't do that to yourself, because coming from me, man, you're one of the best vocalists I've ever heard as far as original sound, strength in the voice, just originality. That's what I'm looking for in a vocalist. Somebody doesn't sound like generic fucking butt rock, and that's all that exists out there.
I know.
Having confidence in yourself is super fucking tough though. But the thing I've been trying to do is that, like, it's so cheesy hippie shit, but like that affirmation shit for yourself, especially as a vocalist, you got to do that, because it gets you out of your head at least enough that you can hear the first couple of runs through and be like, you know what, I'm going to listen to it later, because later I'm going to look at it less objectively or less biased. And that's what I usually have to do. Same thing. I don't want to hear it now. I'll walk away from it. I'll come back to it after.
I'll come back to it, man. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. It's cool to get to talk about this with another vocalist.
That's the vocalist insecurity in us, my man. We all got it.
Not all of us. Oh no, there's plenty of the vocalists that are on the other end of the spectrum. You and I know those guys.
Yeah.
The guys that show up 5 seconds before they go on. They do none of the lifting. They're not setting up any of their own shit if they're playing guitar. Yeah. They're usually not playing guitar. They're usually only singing. They're using somebody else's microphone. Not to, hey, look, I'm a vocalist, so I get to we get to trash on vocalists because we're vocalists. But that's such a shitty mentality to have, and I've seen it so many times in bands. And they're usually the first ones to leave too, and won't stick around for local bands or acts or anything like that. They'll go on right before, and then they'll go and like try to, you know, mingle with everybody and be social butterflies, which I get that. You kind of have to do that, and I've had to do it before. I hate doing it, but I was in sales for a long time, so I do it for the better of the bands, yada yada. Yeah. They love it. They're just the attention. I can't. I get uncomfortable about it. I like it a little bit. I like being on stage. I like people liking our music, but then when I get off stage, I'm very like, yeah, thanks for the compliment. I can't handle I'm bad with the social interaction. Which is weird, formerly being in sales, because it's not like that, you know, selling appliances. But it's there's those vocalists are just so fucking confident. They get on stage, it's like, no man, you're too confident. You're a dick. You're just an asshole to other people.
I get it. Yeah, I've seen plenty of those.
But I try not to be that guy. I try not to say that, because I try to support, you know, other musicians, because you never know what's going on in their own life, you know. But at the same time, it's like, can you not be that guy and make all of the rest of the band do all the work, and then you just show up and then get all the benefit from it, because they're the vocalist, they're the front man. They get, you know,
you're the face of the band,
And I've always struggled with that myself. I always like the idea of having like a guitarist be the front man, and me just like, I'm a vocalist, but I'm not the front of the bands, you know. Never works out that way, but I always like the idea of it.
Yeah, I mean, part of the job of being a vocalist is when you play live, your job is to be a front man. So
that's true.
You're the voice of the band.
So you're worst at it.
Dude, it took me, I still get anxiety about it. It took me years of touring. I've 90% of my shows I played with my back to the crowd.
Yeah.
I look at the drummer, because then it makes me feel like I'm just in practice and it's just us four, and I'm with my boys and I'm having fun. And people used to give me so much shit for years about never facing the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of turned into my thing. And the more I toured, the more confident I got, the more I faced the crowd. But it took me a long time, man, to realize that I'm also a front man.
Yeah.
So I have to represent this band.
Embody that.
Yeah, you have to. And after shows, my only job was to, as soon as we were done playing, they wanted me to go straight to the merch table, because that's how we made our money. So get me to the merch table as fast as possible so we can talk to the fans, you know, sell the t-shirts, do all that stuff so we can get gas money to go to the next place. That was my job as a front man.
Right.
And I was always really insecure about that, because Josh, our guitar player, to me is the front man. Like, he's the reason we sound like what we sound like. He's a fantastic guitar player. He writes 90% of our music. It's his baby. He started it. Like, he is, to me, he is Index Case. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want everybody to talk to him.
Yeah.
Because he is Index Case.
Can relate to that.
You know, then his argument with me was, well, but, you know, you write the lyrics and you write the words that these people are attaching to, and you're writing the melodies, and you're the face of the band, you know, and that's part of your job too. So,
dude, that part and Why Dreams Bleed, that guitar in that, just that,
right,
and the drum beat too. Like, it's such a unique, it catches you just hearing it. Your guys' sound in general, for that reason,
right,
because of the dynamic between the guitar, the bass, and the drums, that kind of pocket that they have, but then also the uniqueness of your voice, like that it's, certain bands have that unique sound, and in each genre, like Marcy Playground, perfect example of a band that has a very unique sound that doesn't get enough credit, totally underrated,
right,
and really amazing live. Sex and Candy's like their worst song.
Like, right, but that's what everyone identifies them as.
Right. I never understood that. But it is what it is. It's how the music industry operates, unfortunately.
How it operates, man.
And it screwed bands like them, like you guys, like any good band that just got ate by the machine, you know?
Right.
And not in a bad way. You guys are amazing, and you're doing what you should be doing right now, and fuck that industry. You can do all of this on your own and fucking make it on your own your own timetable, you know what I mean? Like, do it on your terms, nobody else's. I think that's the freeing thing now that is so big for bands, and it gives them so much more room that they didn't have before, because now it's like you can literally spend your own ad money. You can do so much shit that I'm not doing right now as a musician, because it's old school. I'm not good with I didn't have a computer till I was like 19.
Yeah, I'm not good with that shit either, man. That's not my department.
What year were you born, if you don't mind me asking?
1980.
So you're 4 years older than I am, and
I just turned 40, man.
You're right on the I'm technically right on the cusp of Gen X and millennial, but you're still Gen X. I'm like right there. And what I identify as millennials, like, did you have AIM when you were 10? Like, that's it. Like, if you had AOL and shit when you were like, then you're a millennial. I didn't have any of that. I had big brick phones and with payphone
calling cards, man,
or cards that you had to go to a payphone with. I had like 4.
Our first tour we ever did was with Mushroom Head, and I still remember we were using a big fold out paper map while we were driving to get. There was no GPS, man.
Bands will never understand moving forward.
No, we had a paper map, and when you got to the town, we stopped and asked people where the club was. Like, that's how we got around. That's how we did it for years.
How did things operate before the smartphone, man?
Now that I think about it, it's like the technology's made everything so much easier, but I liked that time, man. I liked using the paper map, man. Like,
kind of did too.
Like, we paid our dues, you know what I mean? We did it the hard way.
There is a part of me that misses that a lot, actually. And that's gonna be weird. That's a whole other generational thing. The kids that'll never remember life without small electronic devices without the internet in their pocket at all times. That's crazy. And it's funny because we literally have all the world's information in our fucking pocket at all times, and we use it for
at all times.
Dumbest shit.
At all times. You can lay in your bed tonight and on your phone, download an app and record a song and post it before you go to bed, man.
I know, and it used to take me hours.
The guitar plugins these days kill me, dude. Like when we record, like Josh just plugs in, right? And then on the computer picks his cab, it's like that is insane to me. Like still to this day, that is insane to me.
It is to me too,
and it sounds amazing.
I agree. We have oddly enough, I have Logic from a while back, so it just keeps updating. But I'm not incredibly versed with DAW recording stuff, but it has that amp profile thing. And
right.
I'm really, and this, I don't know if this is the same thing. This isn't like the Kempers or whatever amps, but this is just plugged into, like if I plug in my computer and the amps sound amazing. Like for recording, I argue that a lot of people wouldn't know that it's not an amp. I'm sure there's plenty of guitar enthusiasts out there, the guys that always give everybody a hard time for having, like, I have this guitar that's neck through really nice, but it's not made out of wood. It's made out of like this weird composite wood glue resin material that was put into a mold and then shaved down, acoustic foam or some shit. I love that guitar, but the company went under because guitar snobs wouldn't buy them. They sounded amazing. They're cool guitars, really cheap for an amazing guitar. But the big catch was when people wouldn't buy them because they weren't wood.
Right.
That was it.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? It fucking sounds cool. It works. Right. It stays in tune all the fucking time and never falls out because it's not wood. Cold, warm, cold, doesn't matter. Fucking awesome. But yeah, it's enough ranting about that the obscure thing there. But yeah, I think that this entire generation of musicians is going to be really, they're going to have a completely different perspective, I think, to the entire concept of touring life. You know?
Oh yeah.
It's not going to be like what you guys went through and before. No. Guys in the 90s, punk rock in the 70s. Could you imagine? You go farther back in time, the harder it gets to.
Oh, I know, man. Insane.
I've never toured as a musician. I'm ashamed to say. I would have loved to do it, but when we were getting to that point, Matt's health kind of was getting a lot worse and kind of went back and forth for a little bit. But we were talking about that, but there was a lot of health issues within the band. Two of our members at the time were dealing with major health issues. But it bums me out because I always wanted that experience of touring. And then I thought about it longer and I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's not like we're going to be on a bus. It's going to be 5 of us cranky assholes who already have a hard time getting along, crammed in a small space for long periods of time driving. I'm like, I can just imagine how the fuck that's going to go.
It's hard, man. It's hard as shit. You got, we were showing up to clubs. We're the opening band, $100 a night, whatever our merch was. Maybe once a week, we had enough extra money to get a hotel room so we could shower. Mm-hmm. Other than that, we're sleeping in the van in Walmart parking lots. And when we would get enough money for a hotel room, we'd go in on it with like the other opening bands and their roadies, and we'd have a Motel 6 with 12 guys in it. You know what I mean? Right. Sleeping on the floor, taking turns showering.
Yep.
Like, and
it's cost
hard.
Effective.
Dude, it's hard and it sucks, but it's also an experience that you can't put a price tag on it, man. Like, right. I've met so many people. I've been all over the place. I've had so many great stories, memories. Like
I hope to get to do it.
I'm glad that I toured like that.
I think it's awesome hearing that story is it's inspiring as a musician, because you get to hear other experience, especially from somebody that I've listened to their music for a long time now. I get to talk to them in a podcast. Right. But to get your perspective on what that's like from the touring experience, that's
I think everybody should, even if it's a long weekend.
Yep.
Find a couple surrounding states, book a Friday, Saturday, Sunday show. Don't come home, stay on the road for just those 3 days. You know what I mean? And then come home, and then a couple months later, try to book 5 days in a row. Right. And even just those 3 days will give you a really good idea of what a 2-month tour is like. It's right. It's fun as hell, but it's hard, man. It's hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, well, I feel like in the right times of my life for it would have been, when I was younger, but now I'm actually in a position in my life where it's like, theoretically, it would be possible now that I'm older, especially with the fact where if we have a boom come back, taking advantage of that wouldn't be a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah. And
find another band, find a band from the state next to you that does well. Mm-hmm. Grab them, have them get a couple clubs that they're good at. You get a couple clubs you're good at.
Yep.
Swap them out.
Absolutely.
Have the time of your life.
I mean, that's usually what we do for regular shows as it is. Like
right.
The Brick House in Dover, New Hampshire. Right now, obviously, they've had to change some things because of the size of the room and COVID and no live music. Right. I think that's everywhere. But they it's kind of that mutual thing where a lot of people from out of the area play down here and then kind of introduce you to bands way up in Bangor, Maine, or whatever it is, right. Which is really good. And then obviously springing out past that and doing the longer tours, which is something that we were gonna eventually do, and kind of bummed that I didn't get to do it. So I'd hope to, like you said, even if I get to do like a weekend thing, just have that experience to do that a couple of times, because I've got to play a huge stage in front of a ton of people twice,
right?
And that's for me, that was a big moment that I got to experience with it's not a huge thing, but I got to experience with Matt, and I knew that for him, they were all really important moments,
right?
Because he got to do a lot of things he wanted to do as a musician, and I think that he passed away when he was 30, which is awful,
right?
But he really lived, like, we were in 3 bands together, and he lived in each band, and everything that he did, he lived life. Like, he was a happy, right. Wild guy, he lived pretty wildly sometimes. But he also, family was incredibly important to him, and he was just a good person, happy person all the way around. And it makes me happy to think that, we got to do some of those things together, because I don't know that I'm ever going to get to do that again. It's me and my son, full-time, all the time, parenting. So, and then I get to the podcast thing and music, but music is kind of limited to practice right now and local shows. I'd like to, the idea of getting to spring out to other areas. So that's a good idea.
So you can do, so a lot of national touring acts will do a run. So like when we were touring with Head PE, like every 2 weeks, the opening band would change. And it would be somebody from that region that would pay Head PE to be on 2 weeks of tour with them.
Right.
So they would pay to tour. So a lot of bands do that. You can pay to do a leg with Seven Dust does it. A lot of bands pay to go on tour. Seven Dust. Some bands charge 10 grand.
Yep.
Some bands charge 5. You don't know what it is, but but if you got the money and if you can raise the money, I think go do 2 weeks with this band Seven Dust, and you're playing for sold out clubs every night, then it's worth that.
Right. Absolutely.
And then you skip the whole like trying to set up your own tour type thing and possibly showing up 8 hours away and you're playing for the sound guy. You know what I mean? So
yes,
it just kind of depends. But a lot of national acts will let you buy onto a tour.
Right.
So that's always something to look into.
That's good, because I've heard about that before, but I didn't know exactly how that worked, and I didn't really dig into it because at the time we were doing a lot of like pay to play shows and stuff, which suck, but not if you move all the tickets. You know what I mean? Like same scenario, you're moving the tickets, you get to play a large stage in front of a lot of people, you sell all your merch, make your money back, and you didn't lose any money on the tickets. So where's the loss there if you can do it? Like, band wants to sign it on for. I hated the shows where they're like, you know, super, you know, scummy about it, put like 10 bands on, and you know, these bands move all these tickets and then they end up playing for nobody, and it's like
that's the worst.
But we did have some experiences with some promoters that weren't entirely far off from that, and they know who they are. No, just kidding. No, they do. One of them's a real douche, but I, you know, wouldn't work with them again, and that's just your choice in a free market economy. You choose to work with somebody or not. And I personally, like one of them, I would definitely go and you know, move 50 tickets to play with some of the bands that they would bring on. This other one, it's like I saw what they did to a couple fans, and like there's like we opened for Black Veil Brides, which was not our sound at all, but neither were some of the other bands that were on it. But they were a huge band and there was a ton of people there. I didn't know that they were really geared toward a lot younger crowd than we're like gonna fit into like the Pantera, you know, maybe Meshuggah fan crowd. Like that's gonna be our genre. And we're like playing for Motionless in White crowd. Like that, not exactly the same, but we actually got a really good response and it worked out well, and moved all our merch, and my bassist kids sold their school chocolate at the show.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
so it was a win-win. But I just remembered those things not being a bad scenario, and why not? If you're a band and you're trying to, it's the same thing as marketing yourself in a business. If you're looking to do that and expand your band, even if you're not looking to do it to make money, you just want to branch out, I think it's definitely worth it to put into it.
Right. And you gotta market yourself too. You got to know your crowd. You know, you could pay 10 grand to go on tour with a band and have the whole crowd turn their backs to you every night because they don't like your sound.
Like, what is this?
We had a booking agent at one point that put us on anything. Yeah. And sometimes that wasn't good for us. It wasn't good for us. And we did South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, our very first time ever doing a club called Emo's, which is like a popular ass club. Yeah. It's like their CBGB. And we were so stoked. And we're opening for a band called Drowning Man. And they were a straight edge hardcore band. And our entire set, the entire crowd turned their backs to us because we weren't straight edge. And it wasn't good for us. Yeah, it was a bad move.
Yeah.
We went all the way to Austin to do this, and we didn't sell one album. We didn't do anything but get criticized, shit thrown at us. And our booking agent had no idea that he's throwing us on with this straight edge hardcore band that we have, that their fans don't like us. You know what I mean?
I do know that, actually. Yes. Funny story, very similar. We played a place called Anchors Up in Haverhill, Mass, and Massachusetts is notorious for hardcore, post-core, you know, kill switch, metalcore, anything put core behind it, and it's genre now. We were kind of a metalcore band, I guess. I don't know. It was like a grind metalcore thing, but we didn't really fit into I don't know. I don't listen to enough of those bands to know, I guess. So I'm a bad judge of what our sound was. Anyway, we played this show and we were not straight edge. Like most of us drank. I smoke a lot of pot. Like especially at the time, like it's just, I'm not going to not smoke weed, and I'm not going to have them tell me like, you can't play because you smell like weed. I'm like, you can fuck off. Like you fuck right off. Like I don't care about you. You guys can be straight edge, but I use it primarily for pain management. So I just don't care. But the problem was that, you know, some of our, I think the people playing in the band, we weren't straight edge, so we didn't fit in, and we didn't want to hang around and be kind of uncomfortable, but we were still expected to play that show. And luckily we did kind of okay, but it was definitely frowned upon that, you know, members were leaving, going down the street, going to a bar, and then coming back, even though they weren't drunk, you know.
Right.
And it was what it was, but same thing. We weren't, that was a wrong fit, and it didn't work well. We didn't sell anything. Also, the house system that we played on was really bad. They didn't have the proper monitors or anything like that. Like, I've played without monitors before, but I fucking hate it. Floor monitors, what the fuck? Wedges, please.
Right.
How can you set up shows and not have fucking floor wedges? I just don't understand that. I've never understood it. People are like, oh, we're setting up a show, or, you know, they had Jesus, this one, they put a national touring act come through. This is a notable Primer 55. Do you remember them?
Oh, I remember Primer 55.
So they were coming through, and I mean, they're not, you know, super popular now, but they made a name for themselves, and you and I know who they are. So they're coming through New Hampshire to play a show in this New Hampshire. So, but the goal was, you know, to I forget where I was going with this. They went through, you know, a bunch of touring, didn't really play for anybody in this area.
Right.
It was marketed really not well for them. It was kind of a tough scenario. And they were, you know, a fairly big band at one point. It was the people that set it up weren't doing anything they should have done right, and they certainly didn't have fucking floor monitors. So they weren't too thrilled. And then, like, we opened for that because we were drawing, you know, at least 30 people into a small crappy place in Rochester, enough that, you know, it would help out somewhat. And I had just had surgery on my ankle, and I'm like, I don't really want to do this because I want to sit down and play, you know what I mean? But so I stood up and I used a cane partially, and we did okay, but it was tough not being able to hear yourself. I've done that so many times. I'm sure, you know,
I've had to. Sometimes you have no choice. You got to just plug your ear. You got to do the ear plug.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Ear plug.
Face the cabs. The cabs in towards the stage. Do the ear plug.
Hope for the best.
And that's when you do a lot. That's when I would do a lot of a lot more screaming.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I would just scream everything because it's what I knew would work.
And you're going off of past knowledge of vocals and just hoping that you're hitting the note. Yeah. I fucking hated it. We played the Middle East in Cambridge, Mass, downtown on a Monday night. It was a metal Monday, I remember, and we had to sell 20 tickets. My idea was we rent a bus, a school bus specifically, and we fill it up with alcohol, and, you know, they pay $10 gets them the bus ride down, and then $25 gets them the bus ride down and alcohol the whole way there and back.
Right.
And it worked out well. We filled the whole bus. They were not expecting this on a Monday night, and we all got paid, and they got paid, and everybody, it worked out well except for the bus driver, because there's a lot of throw up and. Yeah, it was a gross bus after. And I mean, I just remember we were smoking blunts inside the school bus, and the guy's just like, yeah, you guys do your own thing. You rented the bus. I'm your chauffeur. You don't have to worry about me. You guys have your thing. So I can say I smoked blunts on a school bus. It was interesting.
Right.
Drinking beer and good times, though. I mean, hey, that's a good way for the bus company to make extra buck, you know?
Right, man.
Chartering.
Right.
But I just remember we got there and had almost no time to play because the guy didn't know and tried to take a bus down Sturo Drive. You can't do that in Boston because it's fucking old New England roads, old horse carriage roads. They just put fucking pavement over and thought, we'll just do that. That works. Boston, because fuck you. If you ever seen that meme. New York, because we want to know where. Yeah, that's a good one. Accurate. Anyway, we were there super late. We ended up having to go second because we were supposed to open, but we showed up with a ton of people, and then they were like, no, you can play next, but we had like no time. So we got on stage. We ended up using the other guy's amps, and backlined and stuff. And there was like no sound test. And I just remember not being able to hear myself at all. And, but I just tried to remember where I was screaming, and most of that band was screaming. Yeah. So it was just a fucking wing it moment, you know, and it worked out well. Everybody was, you know, happy and fighting each other on the floor. I mean, it's usually a good sign when people are punching each other in the face.
It sounds like our whole first tour, man. That's what it sounds like to me. Yeah.
Man, I wish I could have been there for that. Seriously.
Yeah, it's fun though, man. We played a lot of VFW halls, a lot of clubs where there wasn't even a stage. We're on the floor with the people.
Yep.
We're blowing fuses, power's going out.
Yep. And same thing out here. People do that a lot. Loose lodges and shit.
Some of the best shows of my life, man. And that's still great. To this day, people hit me up that were like at those shows that remember, like, man, do you remember playing on the floor? Like, and there was no barricade, like the people are just up on stage with us. And I was like, dude, absolutely. Some of the most memorable shows I've ever had, man.
I mean, look, you guys played in New Hampshire, and my close friend saw you guys, and I heard about you guys through him. And then another friend of mine really thought you guys are great.
I can't remember who we were with on that tour. I think it was Head PE.
I think that's what.
If I remember correctly, there was a band. So. If I remember correctly, there was a band from New York with us called Gizmachi. Did you ever hear of Gizmachi?
I have not. No.
I seem to remember playing with them on that. They were like a hardcore band from Albany, New York. But yeah, I can in my head, I can see what that club in New Hampshire looks like. I remember that club.
Such a cool little. There's not a lot of places in New Hampshire to play music, you know.
Right.
It's such a small little nook, and
we were received very well in New Hampshire. I remember that.
I believe it.
After that show, we got hit up a lot from people in New Hampshire.
That's awesome. Makes sense.
Same with Rhode Island.
Probably.
We did good in Rhode Island as well. I remember that. So,
well, you guys
the Northeast
gotta come up this way. Yeah, you got to come back up this way at some point. I mean, I know it's challenging.
I'd love to play another show someday.
I know, seriously. Let alone in our own states. Fucking alone.
We haven't played a show in 3 years. 3 years, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. Just
really?
We're it's been a long time. We got a new record we're working on.
That's awesome.
But like I said, dude, we're 40 now, and I don't have kids, but the guys have kids. They're married.
It's tough to make
a
time.
lot of us own our own businesses.
Schedules link up. Yeah, dude.
It's hard, man. So when we get together. But we got 10 songs ready to go. We're just waiting to kind of record them. And I think the plan right now is finish this album and then do a couple like farewell shows this summer and just kind of call it.
That'd be cool. But
put a little ribbon on it, man.
Yeah, so, I'm gonna get to see you guys live. That's gonna happen at some point.
Not saying that in the future we won't. I'm not saying in the future we won't make more music.
Yeah.
I'm just saying at this point, if we've gone 3 years without playing a show, it's time to maybe put some closure on that. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So
it's tough. I can relate. I mean, I'm 36 and man, making time I'm trying to balance being a dad and then just a podcast and a band we play once a week. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't sound like a lot on paper, but fuck, man, it's super challenging.
Dude, trust me.
When you're working with, say 3-4 other people, whatever it is in your band, it's like being in a relationship with 3 or 4 other people. Right. And
you got schedule on everyone else's schedule.
Can make it work. And,
we got Nick, our bass player, is in 4 other bands.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a pretty much a full-time musician. So he's always busy. He's in different genres. He plays in jazz band. He plays in the public orchestra. Like he's just a musician, man. Like he can do anything, play any instrument. And
that's That's awesome.
He does weddings. He does a live karaoke band. Like,
that's wicked
he's
cool.
just 7 nights a week this dude's playing music. So for all of us to get in the same room together is nearly impossible.
Yeah, that's tough. But he's doing it right? I mean, he's playing
right.
music all the time. He's doing what he loves all the time.
He's doing what he loves.
I'm envious.
Unfortunately, in order to make money off music, you gotta, do the cover band thing, the wedding band thing, that type of shit.
Yep. The grind,
which he doesn't mind doing. He just loves playing music, but it doesn't compare to playing your own material every night of the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why I play music. It's like we were saying earlier. For me, it's self-serving. It's totally selfish. Right. I like that fucking just raw release of playing music. Everybody gets together and you just fucking. It's like a emotional stress release every week.
Right, man.
I need it. It's like my junk. I need my fix.
No, I get it. No, it's a drug, man. It's a drug. It's a drug being on that stage.
That for sure.
I mean, we've played shows for 20,000 people, and I can't think of any substance I could put in my body that would make me feel like I felt that night. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fucking drug, dude. Like,
I mean, I can't relate to that. It was like, I think like 1,800 people or something like that at the Palladium, which for me happened in seconds. Like, it was something I was waiting to do. I was so excited to do. And then we got on and over.
Boom, you're done.
And I was just like, all of that for it to be over.
Yeah.
And
best drug in the world, man.
It is, but it's going quick.
Yeah.
It's that quick. Relativity becomes very,
and that's why
relative.
You chase it. That's why people chase it. That's why there's that chase always, man. You always want that next fix.
Chasing the dragon.
Yeah, man. That's what it is. That's what it is.
I really think that the more I think about it, I can't imagine why anybody would want to do it just solely for music. Like,
right.
There are people out there like that do it just to make money, to make a ton of money.
Dude, 75% of them. That's it.
Why? Like,
it's a money thing. They lost their passion. You know what I mean? It turned into a job.
Did they ever have it? Like, how do you just take something joyful that you feel great? That's like makes your body creative, it makes you think differently, think around corners, other ideas. Right. It's just, there's so many benefits of music, and I can't imagine why anybody would want to just do it solely to generate money, because it's impermanent. Everything's impermanent, right? Everything's fucking going back to entropy. Why not ride the roller coaster while we're on it? At least, I'm not saying be reckless, but at least enjoy your life while you're doing it, instead of and not saying that people that make it solely for music aren't, enjoying their life. Because, I mean, obviously somebody who can play 7 days a week and love what they're doing and make a living doing it and be passionate about it, that's the right approach. But the people who only do it for record notoriety and money, like, there's got to be a point where that just can't even be enough anymore for those people, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, you get jaded, man. The industry will jade you real quick. It'll make you question if you really love doing this anymore or not. But the people who do that for just money, that don't care. I mean, at that point, it's not art. You have a talent, but you're not an artist. You know what I mean? Like, an artist doesn't care if your product sells. Like, you're an artist. Yeah, it's just it's installed in you. There's talent and there's artists.
Right.
And a lot of people are born with talent, man. It doesn't mean they love what they do. It just means they capitalized on something they could do and found out they could make money doing it. Yeah. So those are your two different types of musicians, really. And they're not hard to decipher. Like, you can spot those people, man. You can hear it. You can hear it in some people's music. Like, some people are passionate, some people aren't.
A lot of times you'll find that, like, the drummer cliche, they're like 5 different bands and they're always with different girls, super vapid, and they also like that cliche. But it's funny because it doesn't you know, the same thing applies to vocalists, and it's not always the case. You know,
Right.
we're not all the guy that shows up 2 minutes before and, you know, then leaves, you know, right after you guys play. Like, there are vocalists out there that lug equipment and set up drum kits, you know?
Right.
And I think that a lot of times it's the people that are, you know, doing it because they're there because they just want to be in the musical moment, in that
Right.
fucking time and place, that weird space-time fabric that we experience when we're all together playing music. You know, everybody in a band knows that. It's just that moment when everything just, you know, it sounds right, and everybody's looking at each other like, this is good.
Right.
This is
right.
great.
Right.
That's a great feeling,
absolutely.
You know? But I know I've kind of kept you kind of late here too. I know we're getting close to 12 here. I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. This has been a really great episode and great experience for me to kind of get to talk to you and pick your brain about stuff. And I'd love to do it again.
Absolutely, man.
The world,
I'm glad we made it happen too. For sure.
And yeah, let's talk about maybe booking shows at some point once things start stirring up. I mean, if there's any way that, you know, cross I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but yeah, we'll be in contact, because we've got a few venues out here that are decent. Bomb shelters don't exist anymore, but there are some really good venues out this way, right up and through Maine too. We've got a lot of contacts to get you guys in contact with some venues out here if you do, from Mass up to at least Portland.
Sweet.
So yeah, something to think about. But
yeah,
you know, I appreciate you coming on the show, and it's been a really great conversation. And yeah, we'll stay in conversation and contact. And for the listeners out there, we appreciate your time listening on Abstract Transmissions. Be very careful out there. People are burning stuff down in the Capitol. Everybody out there, if you're listening in that area, I don't know how many listeners we have in that area, but anybody be out in the street, start shaking hands and stop throwing bricks. We really got to get
hug somebody.
Yeah, that's right. Hug somebody. On that note, man. Thank you, Joe Ansley, for coming on the show today. It's been a great time, and as always, Abstract here. Abstract.
Abstract Transmissions.